Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Play to Rise podcast. I'm Ava Ora, and we have Shiloh Dawn here with us as well. And we're going to actually bring in DiYeena of the Pleiadian family here a little bit earlier than usual in this episode, because we are going to be going into Gaia's Akashic records for the third part in a 4-part series here, where we're going to be asking her questions on New Earth, what we can be expecting here as we're moving into this new paradigm. What does it look like? What are we doing? What is the technology? A lot of these questions, if you haven't tuned in, are already answered for you in episodes 1 and 2. So make sure that you check those out if you haven't caught them yet. We can put those notes below for anybody who is curious about that in the comments. And we are here again, and Shiloh's going to really give a little bit of an overview and some context for this series, and a little bit on the Akashic records, so we can all feel like we're really coming in here on the same page as we dive right in here into these fascinating questions and topics. So welcome, Shiloh. Good to have you.
Thank you so much, Ava. I'm so excited to be here and be on episode 3 of this series. Like you said, we've already dove into some really juicy parts of this. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper today. And we're actually answering some of the questions that some of the viewers have sent in. And so if you have any questions, we're also going to be doing a part 4. And so you can send those in as well, and we can get those answered. But just a little overview of the Akashic records, just in case. I'm assuming most of you probably have heard of the Akashic records, you're aware of them, but just in case you're not, so everyone really feels like they have an understanding of what this episode's all about. The Akashic records are an infinite library of not only your soul's journey, but also the earth has her own Akashic records as well. So anything that is living, breathing, has an Akashic record. And so it has an imprint of every thought, every emotion, every deed, every action, anything that, if you even think of the quantum field, right, there's an infinite amount of possibilities. And so where do those possibilities, where do those experiences actually get imprinted once they've been experienced? Right? Because when they're possibilities, they're just possibilities in the quantum realm. But once the soul has actually gone through the experience, there's an imprint of them. There's a recording of them, basically, in an energetic way. And so we have the ability, through the power of sacred geometry, tapping into the 7th dimensional field, to go in and access that information. Now, we always want to make sure that we're staying in right relationship with universal laws, and especially the laws of the Akash. And so we don't have permission to access anyone else's records unless they give us permission. And so today I'm going to be accessing the Akashic records of Gaia, of our Great Mother. And so just know that I have permission from her. Gaia and I have been working together for many years and deepening in our relationship in a really beautiful way by tuning in and accessing her Akashic records. And so she has given me permission. Before we dove into this podcast, or started this podcast this evening, I went in and took some time and went into a meditative experience and connected with her and asked her for permission and accessed her records. So I already have her records open, and we're going to invite DiYeena into the space. And we're going to have a really beautiful back and forth conversation. I'm going to be channeling Gaia, and we're going to be going through some of these questions and just whatever else is wanting to come up, whatever Gaia is wanting to share with us at this time. And then I'm also going to be asking DiYeena what her perspective is on it as well. And DiYeena always usually has some really juicy questions as well, because she also is so deeply connected to Gaia, even though she's, existing in the realm of the Pleiades. She also has this deep connection with Gaia. And so we're going to be co-weaving and co-creating with Gaia tonight to really bring the highest and most appropriate information for humanity at this time. And so thank you for being here with us. These episodes are always so exciting to be here, and it's such an honor to have the ability and the opportunity to be here with all of you, and with Ava and DiYeena, and getting to channel Gaia. So thank you for being here with us. I'm ready to just dive in. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Ava, if we're just ready to bring in DiYeena.
I think we're ready. So for anyone that is catching this for the first time or is just tuning in, welcome. So I am a trance channel, which means that with this particular form of channeling, I take a little bit of a back seat in my body, and I have a specific relationship with a Pleiadian named DiYeena, who has expressed to me, she's been very particular these last couple episodes of really clarifying that she is that the beings that are coming through, because DiYeena is not the only one. I do channel Mary Magdalene has been on a few times, and there's a few others, St. Paul and Mother Mary, to name a couple. But DiYeena is the one here that's really here for this podcast, and is, she is the Pleiadian frequency that's really holding in this space and in our membership. For those that are new, we do have a membership as well, where we go even deeper on a monthly basis, and we have all kinds of calls for you to tune into as well, and community as well. So there's a lot available here for you. And so with DiYeena, she's really she's a master in her multidimensionality, is the way that she's really said it. And so she is here holding in the frequency of the 13th density in order to bring in the most relevant and pertinent information for humanity at this time, which is all around connecting humanity back into their original blueprint. So not in the distortion that has happened over time with DNA manipulation and whatnot, and turning off certain strands and all whatever else. Those are all topics for another episode, but the point being is that we really are here on an ascension journey, an inner ascension journey, which really is about reactivating that original blueprint of humanity within all of creation. And so the Pleiadians have really been here for a long time, supporting in this way for humanity. And the time is now. This is why we're having this conversation here with New Earth and with Gaia, because we're in it. We are in this time. And other channels that have come through have even said that we've been preparing, in the Pleiades, even these seeds that they planted thousands of years ago in certain timelines is for this moment, is for this transition that Gaia herself is going through at this time, that we are all going through together at this time. We are really in the moment. So this is really why these conversations are so important at this particular time right now. So all that being said, I do trance channel DiYeena specifically. And so I'm going to take a little bit of a backseat. We have an agreed upon relationship for her to be in my body, drinking the earth. For anybody that's new to the podcast here, we do a little ritual here. You can get your little drink ready. She does come and sip the earth here every night, and every time we come in, and have a little connection in that way. So it's really sweet. And I just trust it. And she really does have a really great banter with Shiloh and with Gaia. It's just a really powerful conversation. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go right out and put you in touch with the Pleiadians, and I'm going to watch the replay. So here we go. Greetings. This is DiYeena of the Pleiadian family. You see, we are here really to bring the love, to bring the awareness, you see, to sip the earth, like we said, here we are ready to do, you see, and to really bring in the missing links here, as we are having these conversations of really putting in the places for not only the intellectual understanding, but we're really opening up the circuitries here, really opening up the circuitries of all of the different ways that we are in relation, you see, to our multidimensionality, you see, because we really are in the shift of expansion. You see, this is really the shift. It is a shift into awareness of your expansion, of who you already are, you see. So it's nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun, you see, only different perspective on what is, you see. So choosing a new perspective, everyone like, okay, we got it. We get this show on the road. You see, we understand the third D here. We understand the polarity. We get it. We get the pain. We get the bliss. You see, we got the earth, the third D earth memo, you see. So we're like, okay, let's have a new perspective, you see. So that's why we are here, you see. We are here to really bring forth this new understanding of new perspective, because you are all choosing it together to have a new perspective. So great, let's do it, you see. Let's be first and foremost, anyone that has, you see, we love to do a little ritual to drink the earth together. So if you have your water, ideally your tea, you see, whatever you have, ideally your tea that is grown from your herbs that is on your land, you see, because this is going to be the strongest circuitry. You're reactivating or strengthening that relationship with the earth, with Gaia, you see, for yourself on her body in this particular spot you call the home, you see. So this is important, you see. Otherwise, you just get the best herbs wherever you are, you see, you or whatever you like, you see. Sometimes we have herbs from all over, because Well, because Ava you see, Ava likes it, you see, so we drink what she gives, you see. We hope that it is good, you see. So we'll see where we are, you see, what we have today. Oh, she got the memo. She got the memo because we said that we liked this one last time. We have it again. This is very good. She's listening. This is so sweet. You see, so we like it. And what this is doing, you see, is connecting us all through the frequency of the water, you see, and through the energetics of the multidimensionality. So we are all connecting heart to heart, you see, through our sipping of the earth, you see, together. So it is very good. You see, now we are all connected in the same container, the same frequency of awareness, you see. So welcome, my dear Shiloh. Hello to our Gaia, dear. We are really in the circuitry. We are really here. We feel the love. We are in the love. You see, we like to say. So here we are. How are you, my dear?
Beautiful. I'm doing so well, and it's always such an honor and such a blessing to be here with you, DiYeena, and always such an honor to get to be here, connecting with Gaia in this deeper way and sharing her ancient knowledge and sacred wisdom, and getting to be in this space and be in this circuitry with all. And so thank you. I'm doing amazing.
Very good. Well, this will be a fun conversation. You see, we know we have some questions, so we can go in, maybe start with Gaia, see what she has to say. Then DiYeena can give a little, perhaps you'll have some other pieces as well yourself. You see, we'll just have a nice conversation about it all.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I'm going to get to some of the viewers' questions. So the first one that we have is, how is the number of active strands related to the frequency of 13, which is the frequency of New Earth? And so I believe when they're speaking of the active strands, they're talking about our strands of DNA. And so the DNA, we have 2 active strands, and it's actually believed that we're starting to activate the third, and that many people actually have the third starting to be activated. And it's under my understanding that the third strand being activated is really what's allowing us to open up this higher place of consciousness. And the DNA strands are connected into the frequency of the 13 because it's all in this synergy of frequency. So the 13 strands, the 13 dimensions, right? It's all interwoven and interconnected together. But I'm going to take a moment and I'm just going to connect in with Gaia. And I'm just going to see what Gaia is wanting to share around this specific piece. So she's specifically bringing forward and showing me the importance of water in this transition. That water is really holding the encoding for New Earth, and that our water, I've never really thought of it like this before, but the water holds a crystalline structure that also has the frequency of the 13 within it. And so the water is directly coinciding with the DNA. And so we can think of, she's kind of showing me like her vast oceans and even like the rivers to get into the vast oceans and how that's connecting internally with us. And so when we think about the active strands to the frequency of the water, what is she showing me is like, as we go internally into self and we think about, okay, we have these 12 DNA strands, but really 13 when we look at the central column. And that's how we get the 13th, right? We have the 12 strands, and then the center column is the 13th, which is what connects us up above and down below. It's our connection into Gaia, and it's our connection up into source, God, creator, whatever it is that you want to connect that with. And so as we're expanding our consciousness, what she's showing is the water is holding the frequency. And so the more that we expand our consciousness and awareness, the more that the water has the ability to actually expand its consciousness and awareness within us. And so everything's kind of working together in this beautiful harmony. And so the more light that we pull in, the water gets to go through its molecular, like alchemical process, and it's assisting the DNA to start really plugging in. And so the more strands that start to plug in, the more that we can then connect into that frequency. And so it's as the strands, right? It's everything is internal first, our internal state of being. So the more of our strands that start to plug in, our DNA strands, it more expand and how it's working with the water internally, it expands our consciousness. And then that allows us to tap into the dimensional fields that are already existing here with Gaia, that we're just tuning our frequency to that of matching those fields so that we can then experience reality through that lens that's already existing here. And so that's what she's showing me right now. I'm curious, DiYeena, if there's anything that you want to add to that.
Yes, we'll just give a little context, you see, because you're saying it all in a certain way, you see. So, so the water holds the stories, you see. The water holds the stories for all time, you see, all dimensionality, all the original blueprint, you see, stored within the water, you see. It's alive, you see. It's alive, you see. It's a living story, you see. This is living Ma, you see, in the form, you see, in a certain way, you see. So it contains all of that, you see. Also the crystalline structure, your body, what you consider your bones, the more density, you see. All of this also alive, you see. These are living crystals within your form, you see. These are literally receptors of information, you see, that are giving and receiving all the time, you see. These are the fine-tuned antennas, you see, for creator, you see, for your own creative abilities, you see. So these are things that are already there, you see, already encoded. So the water is telling the story, you see, that holds the story of the perfection of the 13 already, you see. And so when you it is not even necessarily that there's anything to do, you see. It is really like a metamorphosis, you see, of the right timing, you see, that is really allowing this all to take place, you see. And so it is almost like the conversation, the living conversation that is taking place, you see, between the crystals, the water, you see, the elementals within the form, you see. There's a living conversation that is happening, you see, of what you could consider remembrance, but it is all happening within the now, you see. But it is really the ways of just the simple unfolding of what is already there, you see. So the water is really creating recreating the structure itself, you see, simply by holding the memory of the story itself, you see. This making sense to you?
Yes, absolute sense. Water holds memory, and there's actually a lot of scientific studies behind that too. Dr. Emoto, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with his work, that the water holds the memory. So, of course, water would be coming up when it comes to activating those strands, because it's not like it feels like something new is happening, but it's a remembrance. It's a coming back home to self. It's awakening the original blueprint and structure of the human form. And so that memory is stored within us. So of course it's going to connect in with the water. And I love how you connected that, because I was seeing it as frequency and I was like, okay, what exactly is she showing me here? But that is so beautifully and perfectly said. So thank you for adding that in
This
there.
is why it's so fun to do together, you see, because we're both having parts of it, you see. But it is really, you have to understand that with the DNA, the light codes are already there, you see. The patterns of light are already in existence, you see, that hold the codes of the 12, you see. And so it is already present within the whole, you see. It's just the eyes to see, you see. So it's already there, you see. So the water is playing its role to illuminate what is there, you see, to illuminate what is there, you see.
Beautiful.
It's like
So
watering a flower, you see. The
mhm.
water is like nourishing the the seed of the flower blooming, you see. It's like without the water, it's off, the code is there, you see. It just simply needs the circuitry, the nourishment to come into fruition, you see. This is making sense.
Yes, I love that analogy. It makes perfect sense, and so it's so beautiful because that encoding exists within the DNA. And so just what you said, there's nothing that you even need to have to do. There's this divine alignment that's taking place, and there's like all of the information already exists within the cells, within the DNA. And so the water, as the light's coming in, the water, right, just as you would water a flower, all of the information to make a rose already exists within the seed. right? The water isn't making the rose, but it's assisting it in its blooming. It's assisting it in the remembrance of who it is on a molecular level so that it can bloom into the rose, where then we can see it and feel it and smell it. And then we bring it into ceremony and rituals and all of these different aspects. And so I love just how you put that, because it gives a really great idea of the purpose and how the water works with the original design and how it all works together through the form of creation.
Yes.
Beautiful. Amazing. So I'm going to go on to the next question. So to be able to transition to New Earth, how many active strands should we have? I believe almost everyone has 2 active strands right now. And so, yes, it's I was going to say believed, but it is proven that we are the double helix human, right? We do have 2 active strands. Like I said, there is a belief that the third one has already started plugging in a lot of people. And it's believed that the fourth strand, and of course, time is a really funny thing down here in this earth plane, right? And I know, DiYeena, you and I have had a lot of laughs around time itself. But there is a belief, a prophecy, that 2027, there may be a plugging in of the fourth strand of DNA. And then it's also believed in 2030 that there's some sort of extra plugging in. And I'm not really exactly sure. There's not like a full prophecy on it, but it's looked at as like this great reset that's coming. And there's a lot of, doom prophecies around that. But I believe that that is the time that there's really this shift or this splitting that's happening. But I'm also jumping ahead to questions. So
Well, we did have this question a little bit, not this question, we'll say that, but we did have a little bit of this thread coming up in one of the previous episodes, you see, where we were asking about the timing, you see, haha, but we were asking for the cycle of seasons, you see, how many cycles of the seasons to until New Earth, you see, and she was showing you six more winters, so to speak, you see, around that same timeline of what you're speaking to, the doomsday or the shifting of the frequencies, you see, however you want to perceive it, because again, this is also perceived in this way, we will get to the question, but it's this important piece here. The reason why you have some perceiving the doomsday timeline and some perceiving the shift into this is when we are going to be in the new earth. You see, these are kind of the two polarities of the experience, you see, and that is really when the timeline shifting is really going to be made very apparent, you see. And so it is simply the souls tuning in to wherever they are choosing, you see. So we still have many souls choosing to stay in the density, you see, to play out the illusion of separation a little bit longer, to really see how this AI technology thing that feels separate from the source, to play that out, you see. It is just part of the design, you see, to allow the free will to have that play, you see. There's nothing wrong with it, you see. And then you have other souls that are really choosing this what you call the new paradigm, new earth experience, you see. So this is why there is seemingly two so polar opposite ideas or visions about what is happening, you see, around this 2030, 2031, 2032 timeline, you see, in your earth years, you see, is because there really are tuning into what is happening, you see, and it is on both timelines, you see. So there's different experiences taking place on each one, you see. So this is why you have it happen. Some are saying it's doomsday, others are saying it's going to be best day ever, you see. Both are right, you see. Isn't that fascinating?
So fascinating. I'm in the timeline of it's going to be the best day ever. I've been feeling that forever.
Of course you are. Of course you are. This is why we are here having these conversations, you see, because we are really holding for that for many, you see, for many, you see. So let us get to the question. And we know Gaia has some information here on this particular question. It's very good.
Yeah. So I was just tuning into what Gaia was wanting to share around this, and instantly what I felt in my body and my being and what she was sharing was I heard 7. And so she's wanting to say a couple things about this. So she's saying that the fourth strand is soon. Again, she's not giving me a time, but she's saying not too many cycles away. There will be, like, the third is already plugging in, and the fourth is about to plug in as well. And so I'm seeing kind of this like entanglement, but not in a negative way, just this like weaving of these strands, awakening, just as you were saying, DiYeena, right? The light coming in, the water activating, these strands plugging in. And so what I'm seeing is that 7 is going to um, like, I'm almost seeing the veil just like, what's the word that I'm wanting to use for this? It's like, I was gonna say like tear apart, but that's like not, it's so beautiful what I'm being shown right now. And so
It's
tear,
like the glass ceiling shattering, you see.
yes,
Yes.
yes, thank you. Yes, it's like a glass ceiling shattering. And so there's something in the frequency of 7 that is really important to really shatter the veil of the density that we've been in or shifting or moving through. What I'm hearing and what I'm feeling is that we have an opportunity of the at the end of the 6 cycles, as she was saying, right, which puts us around the 2030 mark, to have the full 13 plugged in. And so there's opportunities at every moment. What she's showing me is she's actually activating the flower of life grid around her, and she's saying that there's opportunities in every moment to bring awareness. And so it's not like the doing or achieving, it's how can you continue to bring present awareness to the patterns in life, the patterns that exist within you, the patterns that exist within nature. The more that you can bring the awareness to these patterns, there's going to be this synergy, this harmony that continues to just pulsate. And it's interesting because I just went through an experience where I was in the dark for 8 nights. I was in a cave, in a darkness retreat. And when I came out of that experience and I came back into the sunlight, I could see the trees breathing. And it was one of the most magical experiences that I've ever had. And so she's bringing me back to that moment where she's saying the more that we can have this greater awareness of life that is just in this harmonious balance with us, because we've been so out of rhythm, which is us being out of the frequency of 13, the natural blueprint. The more that we can come back into that harmony. And so we're going to be going, what she's showing me and sharing with me is that we're going to be going through many initiations individually and as a collective, and also the earth herself, in the sense that the earth is already evolved, but we're evolving in real time alongside these also old structures of the earth herself. And so as she's going through her evolution, we're going through our evolution, and we're merging with those higher parts of self, and she's merging with those higher parts of self. And so we're doing it together because we're all one living, breathing, we're this unified field. And so of course we're going to be doing it together, which is why even in the splitting, it's like, what are we choosing to do together? There's different timelines and parallel realities that we get to choose to be in resonance with. So what exactly are we choosing? But specifically to answer the question, what she was showing me, what I was hearing was 7 and then 13. And so I don't know if you can bring a little bit of a deeper understanding to that, DiYeena.
Yes, so there's a few pieces here. We'll first say the piece you're talking about, Gaia herself. You see, it's almost like putting on a big smile for that one. You see, because it is like choosing to view the earth through a certain lens, to a certain perspective. You see, so we are choosing to have it on this particular timeline. You see, particular density. You see, so she's choosing to play along with it. You see. But you have to understand, she herself is a master of her own multidimensionality as well, you see. So you can choose to come into density, to have certain experience, and then to ride the wave along with all the people choosing to also have it as well, you see. So it is almost like playing the game alongside, you see, just for the fun of it, you see. not out of the necessity of it, but just for the fun of it, you see. And this is really true for everyone, you see. It's not out of this necessity, but for the fun of it, you see. You're choosing to come down here, do the forgetting, do the remembering. It's a lot of work, you see, but you choose it, you see. So fun. So for that purpose, we'll say the main point here is what we'll say is to not limit in the mind the possibility for yourself, you see, because we have had what you call the avatars or the enlightened ones, you see, walking your planet who are already in the wholeness, you see, throughout all of your histories, you see. So there are the possibility to come into form, you see, to hold in the density of the three, to materialize, you see, but to also hold in the fullness of the 13, you see. So we have moments of this, you see, in our timelines, you see. We have this in Yeshua. You see, that's why he made it through all the books, you see, because he was really mastered in the multidimensionality of the 13, the original strands, you see, connected into source, you see. Mary Magdalene, you see, got the name Magdalene because it means tower, you see. Got the name tower, you see, because the towering light, you see, that was coming up through the central column, the 13th column, you see, activated from the heavens to the earth, from the earth to the heavens, you see, both directions, you see. Mother Mary, you see, coming through in that way. Many others, you see. So we have these representations, you see, of beings that come, and we will say here many Pleiadians in the essence, you see. This is part of it as well for what we come here for, you see. But there are places you can point to on your planet of the holding in that frequency, you see. So we do not want to ever limit your possibility, because as Gaia said, you have the capacity to go wherever you want to go, you see. And so you're not bound. You're never bound by an experience, you see, within your consciousness. You are always free to play with it at your own free will, you see. So there is the ways that you can really anchor into whatever density you're experiencing, but also hold in the multidimensionality of who you truly are, you see. It gets a little fun to play in those ways, you see, because you still have to hold in the third to have the body, to have the experience, you see, but then you are really holding in the awareness of so much more, you see. So then it gets to be a fun little play, you see. So yes, you could say that 7, the importance of the 7 here is because the 7 is within the density, what you would call your 7 chakras and all these things, you see, the 7 layers of density within the form, you see, of what you can see and perceive within your within what you've been given here within your 5 senses, you see. So you go to 8, and then you start to get into the 6th sense and whatnot, you see. So the perception shifts after 7, you see, within the physicality level, you see. So this is why the new earth experience requires the perception shift, you see, because it is all of a sudden in different, in this 6th sense realm, you see, so it will kind of play like that, you see, in that particular way, because it is requiring you to use more of your multidimensionality to have the holding of that experience, the holding of that density, you see, holding in that vibration, that frequency, you see. So the first 7 are really, we all know it, you see, within the meat suit, you see, within the form, you see. So when you go beyond that, you see, you get into a little bit different way of relating, you see, with who you are. Is this making sense to you? Is it making sense to Gaia? Does she have anything else to add to that, or you?
Yes, no, that's making perfect sense. I'm just tuning into what she's wanting to share. It doesn't feel
We
like
don't
too
want to put you on the spot, you see. We know sometimes it takes a minute to do the listening gears, you see. Here, if she has any more little slideshows to show you, you see, to get it through to the humans, you see. So we'll give you a moment here.
Okay. It doesn't feel
crack some jokes while we wait.
It doesn't feel like there's too much more coming up around that specifically, and because she's sharing that you shared an important part of like not hindering or putting a box or anything like that around, because it's not so like what she's sharing with me is it's not so like what she's showing me is the human mind, right? The human mind wants to like check off these boxes, right? Like, okay, we have the 2 it plugged in, great. That means we're here. Okay, now we're at 3 and 4. Okay, that means that it's she's saying that it's not so much like that. It's like because it just you'd said something earlier, and so she's allowing me to see, like, she's kind of splitting herself into what I'm seeing right now is like hundreds of different versions, if not then like thousands of different versions of her. And so what you had shared earlier of being a master of multidimensionality is, it's none of it is that black or white, because we are multidimensional beings, and so we can be weaving in and out at any time. We can, what she's sharing is, we can go into a meditative experience, or like I just experienced going into a dark cave, and to actually tap into what it feels like energetically to be plugged into all of the strands, to be in the full wholeness, to be in this experience of tapping into enlightenment, to feel like you're just part of all creation, and then you come back into the density of the human form. And so it's not so much climbing a ladder to plugging in how many strands we need to plug in. It's more of a weaving and experiencing over here, and then coming back here and expanding a little more each time we come back in. And so it's almost like kind of dipping in and out of that expansive of tapping into consciousness. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. So another way to look at this, you see, is when you look at a weave, you see what is a weaving. You see, so anyone that is weaving anything, whether you're weaving a basket, you're weaving a little blanket, whatever. You see, you'll use the blanket. So you're moving the threads. You see, over and under and under and over, and then you do another layer the other direction. All of a sudden, you have this almost like a little net. You see, right? If you were to stretch out and see the holes and all the things. So if you are looking at the dimension and the timeline you're on right now, it's one little thread, you see, one little thread in that entire weave, you see. And what that thread is you could say that thread is linear. You see, it is linear. You see, it is going in one direction, you see. But then you have to understand that there's a whole web, you see, that moves out from that thread, you see, not from that thread, you see, but is part of that thread, is part of the whole weave, you see. But it goes out in infinite directionality forever, in for infinite time, you see, for infinite space, you see, but it goes in every direction, you see. Infinite into the void, infinite into the light, you see, infinite all around, you see, everywhere, you see. There's no place you can go that does not touch this, you see. So when you are thinking about it in that way, you see, the mind wants to go in this one thread of linearity, because that is the chosen experience of perspective on the third dimension of Earth right now, all the humans on it, you see. So of course, this is where the mind goes, you see, checking off the boxes, climbing up the ladders, getting to the finish line, you see, got to 2, got to 4, got to 6, or almost to the finish line, you see. This is the natural way the human mind works from this linear perspective, you see. And this is the chosen perspective, so it's important, you see. So there's nothing wrong with these perspectives, you see. And it's not like we have to go and say, oh, this one's so limited, you see, we're just going to throw that away. Then no need for this perspective anymore. No, because you take that thread out and all of a sudden you have a hole in your blanket. You're cold. Who wants to be cold? You see, who wants a hole in their blanket? No, we need all the perspectives, you see. We need all of it intact, you see. So honoring each perspective for what it is bringing, you see. Now we have a warm and cozy blanket that everyone can enjoy, you see. It's so nice, you see. So this is a little bit how to understand, you see, but to not limit in that one thread, you see, there's so many more threads that are creating that cozy blanket, you see. Is making sense to you?
Yes, I love that analogy. It is important to have all of the perspectives and all of the different points, and in how we're perceiving reality, and that all coming together, because it really isn't this linear thing. And so it's a yes, and it also gets to be like earlier when I was starting to connect with Gaia, and this has been many times connecting with her, and she's just sharing that with this again with me now, is that it's so much more vast than what our human mind can ever comprehend, of what the truth of it really is, or what the many truths of it really is. And yet at the same time, it's way more simple than what our human mind wants to create it to be. And so there's a complexity, but yet in the great paradox of this realm that we're in, it's not really complexity. It's just, it's multidimensional, and it's infinite. And so it's hard for our human mind to really understand that in the analytical way of how we're hardwired right now in this experience, which is why, DiYeena, you're saying that that's also an important part of it, right? We don't want a hole in the blanket, because that's part of how we're perceiving reality. And with that, it's also, there's a simplicity to it, which makes it really beautiful as well.
And there are choices even within that. So guys choosing to hold the perspective of it is simple, you see. That's important perspective, you see. There are also others that are holding for the perspective that it is so complex, you see. Also important perspective, you see. So holding, even in these moments where we go, oh, it's so easy, so simple, you see. Oh, it's so complex, it's so, both are true, you see. Both are true because it's different angularities on the perspective, you see. Different fractalization of perspective in general, you see. So each fractal is made up of a different sound, a different note, you see, that is going to hold a different perspective, you see, and a different intensity even within that. You think of an orchestra playing a symphony or something like this, you see. You maybe have a flute moment, you're playing very soft, you see, and then maybe there is a loud drum over in the background, you see, something like this. So there's different levels of intensity in the fractalization, you see. Gaia in a very, very sweet moment, you see. She can be all the things, you see, but in this particular moment, oh, so simple, so sweet, you see. There's a softness there today. Not every day like that, you see, but today that's how we are conversing, you see, what the perspective is, you see. Important angularity, important perspective, we honor it, you see. But just understanding that even within these ways of pinning it down, you see, we cannot pin down the infinite, you see. We can only voice it in the moment, you see, and recognize that even in the voicing of it, you see, we've already missed it. We've already missed the grandioseness of it, you see. Cannot quite grab it, you see. It's not meant to be grabbed. It's not meant to be quite grabbed, you see, and held down and understood in that way, you see. Only simple holding in the perspectives of infinite ways, you see.
I'm just laughing over here because when you said that, she's in a very sweet, like it's this simple but it's not always like that. I was just giggling, and I'm just going to share with the viewers something that I shared with Ava before we got started. When I opened Gaia's Akashic records, she took me through something that I had experienced when I was in the darkness. Like I said, I was in a dark cave in Guatemala. Exactly 1 month ago, I was entering the cave. And it was really intense, quite complex, and to the point where I didn't understand why she was taking me through what she was taking me through. And when I was opening the record, she had shared with me, she didn't say I hope, but basically saying that there's going to be an integration of understanding of why I had to go through. I went through many initiations in there. And so she was taking me through those initiations and stretching me, expanding my bandwidth to where it was very difficult and hard and complex and a little scary at times and everything in between. And so I feel like she's in this really soft, just like holding my heart energy right now. And when I first tapped into her, she's like basically not apologizing, but saying like, like a mother would with a child, right? When they're going through a hard time, like, yeah, you had to go through that really hard time. And now we're in this really sweet moment again. So I just wanted to share that because it was a very real moment when I was connecting into her records for this experience.
Very, very sweet story. That's very sweet moment with the Gaia. It's good. Very good.
Beautiful. So I'd love to go on to the next question. This is a bit of a long one, but it feels important that I read out the context with this. So the question is, how will the transition look like? They're explaining that they had watched a video from another channeler who was channeling Saint Germain, where they channeled a future human who said that around 2031, which puts us to very similar timeline to what we're already speaking of, something happened and half of the population was not there anymore. But at the same time, no one felt bad or missing someone. It was like acceptance. That reminded me of the book Revelation, where one day, two sisters together, one was taken and the second stays. A couple sleeping, one taken and the other stays. And that there's an overall feeling of acceptance, not feeling of like fear or grief or anything like that coming up. And so I feel like you were going to say something, DiYeena, when I was sharing that. Was there something coming through?
Nope, no, my dear, we were just having a little side note with the Gaia, but this is not for right now. You see, so we prefer you to go for the Gaia first. You see, and then we'll come full circle.
Beautiful. Okay, amazing. So as you can see that there's a theme coming back to this 2030, 2031, the 6 cycles, that connection of kind of this timeline that's happening. And so before I go into this, I really want to, just really bring in a feeling of like love and safety into the hearts of humanity, anyone listening to this, because we don't want to create any sort of fear. And if fear is coming up, I really want to have that to be an invitation to look at those pieces for yourself and ask what is the actual thing behind the fear itself. One of my biggest lessons in the dark was understanding fear and how to transmute that within ourselves so that we can really go through this deeper expansion. So I'm just going to take a moment and to connect in with Gaia, and I just want to see what she really has to what she's wanting to share about this. I'm just going to take a moment here.
While you're doing that, we'll say with the fear piece, you see, it is really important, you see, to understand that the transmutation of the fear is really more around the frequency of being in right relation with yourself, you see, because if you are having fear, that means that there's a disconnect somewhere in your awareness of your full multidimensionality. So the more that you are connecting into yourself, you see, means you're having trust in yourself, you see, because everything is a reflection of you. You see, so if you are experiencing a lack of trust or lack of safety anywhere in your external reality, that is an opportunity to go within, you see, and find those resources within yourself, you see. So just a little tidbit, you see, we could go into that one for a whole nother hour, but we're just giving Shiloh a little time to connect in with Gaia here. We'll give you that little tidbit in the meantime.
Thank you for that. So yeah, to answer this question, it's an interesting thing because this is actually this question specifically is something that I've been connecting to Gaia for quite a while. Ava and I have been in many discussions with this and with DiYeena as well. And so there is a deep connection here to, right, the book of Revelations and many prophecies, right? The Hopi prophecy, the Mayan prophecy, everything's coming to a head. Everything's coming to this greater connection. We can even look at like the government system saying that there's this great reset that's coming in 2030. It's like, why is everything's kind of coming to this pinnacle, all of these different aspects. And so when I first opened the Akashic records of Gaia, when we started this session today, she was showing me something of that there's going to be a deeper understanding for humanity coming very soon of what is truly happening here. And she was showing me the split that's happening. It was almost like I was seeing very vivid reality, almost like an expanded conscious reality. And then it was almost as if there was like this a glitch that was happening, like, and I'm saying glitch in like a timeline shift, like I'm just seeing this shift. And then as this shift was happening, it was almost like a separation of worlds that was taking place. And she's wanting to just say once again that there's no reason to fear any of this, that on a soul level, that every single person that signed up to be here on this planet at this time knows on a deeper soul level what's about to take place and has a deeper understanding of this evolutionary process or even this ascension process that we're going through. And there's nothing to fear. And I even heard DiYeena, you say this earlier, of like there's nothing to really do, that there is an encoding within us and there's an encoding in earth. And she's wanting to bring forward that some of the fear is coming around the fear of how we're damaging her. And so and I think maybe we've said this in another episode, but she's wanting to make this really clear, especially around this question, that there's nothing that we can, like, there's such a vast intelligence within her that there's nothing that we can do to a detrimental kind of pathway, in the sense of like the world's not coming to an end because of the imprint that we're making. Yes, we can come into more harmony with her. And that's what she's calling us forward into doing. But this shift that's happening isn't happening because it's not happening because, like, she's like saying of like global warming. It's happening because there's ascension coding that was placed within her grid and within the cells and the DNA of every single living being on this planet. And so there is a I'm just wanting to tune into what she's showing me, because I'm seeing that, like, and I think that we've maybe channeled this before. I'm having trouble fully remembering, because when I'm in my channel, I don't always remember exactly what comes through, but I'm seeing something with the great central sun come in. And I know we have talked about the great central sun before, but there's something taking place, because she's even saying, right, there's a lot of people questioning, like, do we go into the sun? Like, is the sun that's here for us right now, is it even the real sun? Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? She wants us to release the fear, to let go of the not to like fully let go of the mind, but release the monkey mind, release the overactive, overthinking, over generating, coming into these beliefs, the self-doubt, and tapping into the heart and connecting deep within her, because there is a shift coming. There is a splitting of timelines coming, and that it's okay. It's okay if you're in a different timeline than, like this question was saying, right? Like two sisters. It's okay that you're in a different timeline if that's what the soul is choosing. Know that she's wanting to make it very clear that you're not powerless, that your soul is choosing on a higher plane of existence through this splitting, through this shift of what is going to be in the highest and best for the soul to experience. And so you're not down here just what's the word that I'm looking for? She's saying, like, you're not a victim to the circumstances of what is taking place. Your soul is very much choosing its pathway forward. And so just what you said earlier, DiYeena, there's a deeper trust with that, the piece that you shared about fear. And so even the design of this, right, I took a pause. You're sharing about fear, because that's exactly what she's wanting to really, for everyone to understand, that the more that you trust that your soul knows exactly what it's doing, and that your sister or your partner or your mother or your friend, that every soul on this planet knows what it's doing in its higher plane, in its soul journey with its higher self, that we can trust what is happening. We don't have to fear that our family is being left behind, or there's going to be a splitting. That's not what we're being asked to do within this experience. It's, can we surrender? Can we open our heart? Can we love without limitations? Infinitely start tapping into what is available for us here, awaking the remembrance of the original divine blueprint, and trust that our soul is leading us to exactly where we need to be, because neither of the place of splitting is bad or wrong. It's just, what are these souls individually or groups of souls wanting to experience at this time? There's purpose behind all of it. And so that's what she's wanting to share about that specifically. I don't know what else maybe you have around that, DiYeena.
Yes, this is all very, very good. You see, it's really the essence here is around the fear piece, because it is a frequency. You see, so that fear overlay, you see, because not essence. You see, the fear is an overlay; it's not your essence. You see, so when you allow the frequency of fear to be what it is outside of you, you see, not to tangle up in it all. You see, then what happens is now your form is now freed up. You see, to really allow this inner ascension process to really get going here. We have a little sneeze that is coming here. We're a tickle in the nose, you see. Not, this is very curious. This is not common sensation here that DiYeena is used to experiencing here. I'm not sure it's going to be a full-on sneeze here, but very interesting. We get sidetracked here, but Anyway, we will say, yes, it's very interesting when you have a sneeze, but it will not come fully out, you see, just kind of hanging out there, deciding whether we're going to tickle some more of the nose hairs, you see. Wow, what is this? This is very fancy things you have here in your world, you see. Anyway, you see, so if you're not paying attention into the fear, well, then you are tuned into your essence, you see. So this is part of it here, is that when you are going through these, you're saying up to 7, what Guy was mentioning here with the 7 DNA strands, whatever you see with the 13, all these different options, you see. But the fear overlay cannot stay in these options, you see. So it is simply allowing that thing to really just be where it is, you see. And the other piece here feels important to really just name here is I think that a lot of people are holding in the fear because they want to have the feeling of control, you see, that they can have some sort of control over the situation, especially with the loved ones, you see. So if we can be afraid, well, then maybe I can control a little bit of the outcome here so that I do not lose the ones I love, you see, because this is really a deep fear for many, you see. So in that piece, you see, we can say there is that you can really let that piece go, you see, because again, when you recognize that the soul is infinite, you see, that is, you are really in so many dimensionalities in these types. So everything is now. You're having this new earth paradigm, this whatever the 5D, whatever D it is, you see, it is already there, you see, and you are there with all your loved ones, you see. You see, so it is not that you cannot have 2 experiences happening all the time at the same time. You see, we choose, you see, to have these multiple layers of dimensionality of experience, you see, within the soul fractal, you see. And so recognizing that there it's a little bit more complex, like it is not so black and white, like you go here, they go there, and then there is no happy place in the middle, you see. You see, life is more thoughtful than this, you see, more layered than this, you see. So trusting that if you are choosing this new earth paradigm, that that those you love are there as well, you see. This is important piece for people, because then if you know that part, you see, you can trust in that part, no matter what kind of shenanigans they're up to, you see, trusting that part is true, you see, because they are in their own experience as well, but just trusting that part, you see, that we really do get to go with those we love, you see, that those we like and want to be with, you see, and that it is really a positive experience for everyone, you see. Then what happens all of a sudden, okay, I can trust myself, I can trust, the apparent illusion of those around me, that there's really another versions of myself, you see. You can trust all these aspects, you see. Trust a deeper design, trust a deeper unfolding of it all, you see. So that's important part too.
Yeah, it's a big theme of trust is really feeling like the foundation of all of this, right? We can have the curiosity, but can we really open our hearts and trust the unfolding of what is really taking place here? Because it is this beautiful, vast, divine design that's unfolding that we're really just becoming more aware of and to. And that leads into the next question, which I'm actually.
Well, before we go to the next question, you see, we did really focus on the fear, but we want to make sure we actually answered the question, the inquiry, you see, which was really like, are we all kind of just, is this really true that there is going to be like just half of us there, you see? Is this really the what is happening here, you see? So to just actually name that part, you see, because DiYeena has her opinion, you see, but from our vantage point, you see, but perhaps a Gaia would like to ring in first, you see, on that specific question, you see, because and maybe a little bit of context for people as well, you see, because again, we do not want to instill the fear, but to provide a little bit of context for how to really understand this shift a little bit better.
Okay, let me just tune in to see what she wants to share around that. Yeah, I mean, it's similar. So it feels like what she was saying to me before. She's kind of showing me a very similar image again. And so I don't know, maybe if I didn't relay it properly, but she's kind of just showing me the same thing that she showed me earlier. So maybe I need to say it in a different way. she's showing me that there is a splitting, there is a divide that's happening, but everything is still in a unified field. And so we see it as a divide because, okay, this is interesting. I'm seeing it in a different way now. So there is a divide that's coming. Yet, okay, this is where my human mind is going to have a hard time, and probably.
We got you. We got your back, my dear. You just say what you see.
Okay, great. So she's saying that, yes, right, if we're looking at it through the perceived lens that we're in right now, there is a splitting of worlds, there is a divide. And yet, when we evolve and we start plugging in these strands, we connect into like the wholeness of the original blueprint of the original human. And so in that sense, when we plug that in, that we are then back in this unified field. And when we're in the unified field, we have the ability to connect to, what I'm hearing is, we have the ability to connect to all souls because we have the ability to tap into the unified field. Just in the same way, DiYeena, that you're not here physically in this moment, like as a human walking this planet, and yet I get to sit here and have a conversation with you. She's showing to me in that lens. So again, it's not so black and white. So it's hard to explain in the sense, yes, there is a splitting. Yes, there are souls going and having their own individual experiences. She's showing me in the same way that when you graduate high school, all of your friends go off and have their own timelines and have their own experiences. Or when you get to a certain age in a family, right, the siblings kind of go into different destinations for a while. And so she's showing me that there is a split happening. There is a shifting where some souls are going over here, some souls are going over here, but it's not this like finite thing that we think it's going to be. It's just an experience that certain souls are going to take, but we're still able to connect in the unified field of the wholeness of connecting to those souls. Like picking up I'm just seeing like picking up a telephone. Like for instance, right? I live many, many, many miles. I live in a different country than the rest of my family. And so I still get to pick up the telephone and talk to them. And so she's showing me these analogies. I don't know how to give an exact answer of what it's going to look like, but she's saying, yes, there is a splitting. Yes, there are souls going in different directions. And that's not this permanence, end of the world thing that we want to make it be, because we're always connected in this unified field. And it's okay that souls are going and having their own experiences. And we're all coming back together and merging at one point again. I'm not sure exactly when that point is, but we need to trust the divine design and trust that everyone's soul knows what it's doing, is what she keeps saying.
Yes, this is very well said, you see. And another part, you see, or another way to describe, you see, is perhaps with the analogy, or, this is maybe a little bit controversial way that, for we don't want to push any religious buttons here, but we are going to just say what it was, you see, because with the coming back of the what is called the resurrection of Christ, you see, coming into the body coming back alive, you see, and having a whole nother experience here on the earth, so to speak, you see. Understanding that what was really happening there, you see, is really mastering in the multidimensionality, just as Gaia is sharing here, you see. So you're connecting into the original 13 here, in the original blueprint, having in the holding of the multidimensional awareness, you see, having the capacity then to move as intention calls, you see, and move as desire spurs, you see. So in that, there is the capacity and the ability. So she's showing you the telephone, you see. There's the capacity and the ability to come into density, you see, to come into form within third density, you see, to say hi to a friend, for example, there's a reason to, if there's really a soul purpose for doing, you see, because you have to understand that any soul that is choosing. So there's reasons for, so they are really, they're desiring that is their preference, you see. So everyone's choosing their preference for that moment in the breath of life, the breath of consciousness, the movement of the breath, you see. So in that perspective, you see, for the moment, you see, there's times when we can come in, you see, and come into density. The Pleiades have done this as well, you see, coming into density, into your earth, you see, for whatever, you see. This is why you have, even in your religious text, you see, you have all these beings that would come, angel visitations, for example, you see, coming into different things. You see, this is higher density or higher dimensional frequencies, you see, coming into density, you see, for a particular purpose, you see. So it is more fluid in that way. So it is more in that connectivity. You see, I believe this is a little bit what Gaia was maybe saying a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that feels in resonance for sure. Absolutely.
So this is good, you see. So now we can say we've answered the question a little bit more thoroughly, you see, for the inquiring minds, you see, who really want to understand the logistical pieces here, you see, because again, we want to try to control what is really out of our control. It's hilarious, you see, what we think we can do here, but we try, you see. So that is a little bit for the mind, you see. Yeah. Now let it go, so we can really just focus on really watering our DNA, you see.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that, watering the DNA. It's so perfect. Amazing. So I'm actually excited for this next question, because I'm going to have a couple questions for you in this, DiYeena, and maybe about the Pleiades as well. But the question that came through is, since it is still a game we are playing on New Earth, what will be, in quotations, the challenge? Will there be a challenge there? Because is it nice there? Will we get bored? And wouldn't we need to still have experience? For example, if we came to Earth with a veil and forgetfulness, or will it just be a peaceful life there? And so I was already tuning into Gaia with this question, and she showed me a really beautiful vision. And what came forward with that vision is that as we're going through this shift, as we're going through this ascension process, and New Earth is emerging, it is a timeline of peace. And so what she was showing me is it's not so much that there's going to be challenge, and there's not really the frequency of being bored. And in the sense of why she was showing me, or what she was showing me with that, is we're so much more aware that we are these powerful creator beings, that we get to be in a place of innovation. We get to be in a place of creation. We get to be in a place of learning and expanding, because just because we're in a place of wholeness and tapped into the original blueprint, there's still many things that we get to learn. And so we have more awareness of our gifts and our powers, which then is going to bring us into more of a frequency of curiosity. And when we are in a place of not creating or exploring or learning or innovating or connecting, when we're in that place of, say, an inner state, it's not so much going to be the frequency of boredom, because we're really going to understand the frequency of peace and presence in a way that maybe we're still struggling a little bit in the human form to understand. And so it's going to be a different frequency, in the sense of we're going to be okay with being still, being in the peak frequency of peace, being in the frequency of presence. And we're also going to be very excited to be in the frequency of curiosity and play and wonder and exploration and innovation and creation. And what she was showing me in that is, and this is something that I've connected into before, I've astral traveled many times to this place in the Pleiades, or done some bilocation there as well. And what she was showing me and what she brought me back to was a vision that I had a long time ago, was that there's schools in the Pleiades, and that many beings from many different star systems, and even beings from our planet, a lot of the disciples were astral traveling. Like Mary Magdalene was astral traveling, Yeshua was astral traveling into back into the Pleiades, and actually in the I'm trying to think of like what the name of it would be. I like wanted to call it a university, but then I like got the message of like that's not what it's called. But there's a school, there's a place. And so she was showing me that in the sense of we're evolving into this higher consciousness, and there's always place for learning and growing. And so I wanted to just hear what you had to share around that, DiYeena, of how even though the Pleiades is this higher place of consciousness and more evolved, that there's still a place like a universal school kind of thing there.
Yes, this is very, very good. We are excited to tell you all about this, you see. And also really to excuse me, to really name the piece here that is really at the core of the question, you see. And that piece is really around the frequency of boredom, you see. And this is important because you have the question because you are in the third density, and that you are really not aware of your fullness, of your full capacity, your full expression, you see. So there is such a limitation right now in your experience of who you truly are. So when you are not being entertained by external things, or oftentimes like this, you see having the television or the scrolling of whatever you see on the news, whatever, going to a game, you see all the things that we do to kind of entertain, you see, to have a way to buy the time, you see, a little bit, you see. What happens there is we are doing these things, you see, engaging in this particular way because we are not connected into the fullness of our creative power, you see. You see, so this is a very important note. So if you have the boredom coming up, well, this is because you're not expanded in your multidimensionality. You see, this is why the way Ava would say it to her son. You see, you're Mom, I'm bored. Go meditate. You're not connected to God enough. You see, if you are bored, you're not in tune with the divine. You see, go and have a little meditation. You see. This is really the essence of it, you see. Sounds simple in practice, you see, but this is really the essence of it. So when this is the context, you see. So when you are coming into to more of yourself, more of your expansion, more of the awareness. So again, it's simply the point of awareness that you are choosing to place on consciousness, you see. So if you're choosing to place your awareness on a certain density or dimensionality of consciousness, you see, and then you are using fluidly all of those ways of relating with the one, you see, well, then all of a sudden you are in your telepathy, you are in all of your clairs, you see, you are fully just turned on in all these different ways, you see, all of these different expressions, you see. And so from that place, all that means is now you are just coming into the play of consciousness with a fully turned on body, you see, a fully turned on temple that has all of these fancy tools and fancy ways to play, you see, fancy things to do, you see. So now it is just like coming in with all of the possibilities alive, you see. Well, okay, you see. This does not mean that you have the mastery over it, you see. This does not mean that you are tuned into the awareness of your infinite multidimensionality. You're still choosing a finite version, you see. So within that, you see, Pleiades are really focusing in on, again, the 13, really important, you see. So this is why we come with the 13 to Earth as well, you see. The ways that this moves through the form, you see. So within that, yes, there is training ground, so to speak, you see, places that we will bring many who are both curious in the activation of these 13, you see, and those that come in the activation who would like to practice or play or do it in a different flavor, you see, because again, the Pleiades is very, very fancy with the playing, you see. You see, we are very adept at really taking the life and doing it through the frequency of the heart, you see, frequency of the love, You see, that is also in the connection of the higher 13 channel, you see, so that the play of it is really the full expression of what it means to play in consciousness, you see. And so from that, you see, there can be all types of different layers of training that take place. You see, whether it is the mastering of the womb power, for example, of creation, or whether it is mastering how to really create form from energy and thought. You see, so it was really just the different layers of how you can use the capacity and the potentiality of who you are to create whatever it is that your desire is within the play of consciousness, you see, because everyone comes with a different purpose or mission or desire. So it is a vast training ground in that particular way, you see, because different races or technology will come for different purposes, you see. So they come and they learn, you see, the different way, but it's through a specific frequency of access point, you see. So every different point in consciousness has a slightly different flavor, you could say, you see. Pleiadian flavor is a fun one to play in, you see. So many come. It's like a party. You see. Is making sense to you?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. And I think it gives a great understanding of what is possible here as we continue to go through our own evolutionary period and explore this new way of being as we tap back into the original blueprint of what are we really capable of, and what power exists within us, and how really, as we release the density, a lot of the old constructs of being, right, the self-doubt, the boredom, the feeling of being disconnected, all of that, it sounds like, is going to dissolve, and we get to be in a place of peace, and we get to be in a place of connection. So you're going to say something there, DiYeena.
Well, just to add to that, those frequencies, loneliness, isolation, you see, depression, all these things, they cannot exist when you are aware of your multidimensionality in this particular way. These frequencies just are a natural no match, you see. So it is not like you have to do all this work, you see, to dissolve all these ideas. You see, all of a sudden you are in this new frequency of your multidimensionality, you see, and these frequencies of these lower vibrations are just simply not a resonant match of experience that you are choosing to have, you see. So that is why she's saying that it is really a timeline of peace, you see. It is really a timeline of peace, you see. It doesn't have these other frequencies, you see. And that is part of a choicing. It is just a choice, you see.
Yeah, so it feels like that there's so much more room for exploration and expansion and learning and growth, and that it feels like the original the frequency in the original form, because she's bringing me into that feeling now. It's like there's no room for those, because we remember who we are, and so we know what we have the ability to tap into. And so if we know what we have the ability to tap into, then there's I know it's like we're not, that frequency doesn't exist, but there's not also even a reason to go into that frequency, because we're so tapped into the complete opposite of the polarity. And it feels like we've been playing in the opposite polarity for so long that we get to then be in this opposite place of it, which is really the same, a different side of the same coin kind of thing. And so it's like the pendulum is swinging for us to, we've really been in a paradigm of war and depression and anxiety and disconnection. And so that pendulum is swinging for us to experience the other side of the coin in a really beautiful, expanded way, is what it feels like.
Precisely. And also recognizing that in this expanded space that you are, there is just a more natural desire for the continuation of the expansion, because that is the natural way that the movement of creation happens. You see, there's constant expanding, you see, in both directions, you see. So that is the natural way that we move and operate. So you'll be naturally drawn to that expanded conversation, to that expanded consciousness, connecting in with the plant life, for example, and having a much more in-depth conversation than you can imagine here on your current version, you see. Having fluid conversations with the trees and the whatever is growing, you see, around you in this particular dimension, you see. So it gets to be working in the realms of what is in a different way, you see, because you are really in a different frequency of awareness, you see. So everything that you could even imagine here, you see. So in this particular place where we're heading, you see, with the new earth paradigm, you see, you do still have all the plant life, you see, and the animals, you see, in this particular way. There's just a different relationship, you see, because there is a different awareness of the circuitry, you see. And so we are also all tuning into that circuitry together. So it is also just it is fun. There is a lot of joy and fun in it, simply because, wow, how are you? It's a simple conversations that you would seem so magical here, you see, are really still hold the mystical and magical quality, you see, but it is from a different way. It's not like, oh wow, I cannot believe I can do that. It is from a place of awe of creation itself, you see, because there is a deeper reverence, you see. So when you are in this circuitry, there is just a deeper way that we move and operate, you see, from this heightened frequency of awe and love and joy, you see, and peace, you see, bliss. So it is the bliss cycle, you see, you could say. So the bliss frequency is the modus operandi, you see, for all of the creation. See, it is in the frequency of the bliss. So if you're in the frequency of the bliss, are you ever bored? We've all had these moments, feeling blissed out, you see, perhaps, you see. Most of us had at least a moment or two where we're just feeling so blissed out, you see, for whatever reason, you see. Perhaps we had a plant, or we had a conversation, or we had some good sex, whatever it may be, you see. We had a blissed out moment, you see. And now we're like, wow, did you feel bored in that moment? Did you feel bored in that moment of bliss? No, of course not, you see. We did not feel bored in these moments of bliss, you see. So it is just simply shifting the frequency of understanding of what the experience itself feels like, to be more connected into your multidimensionality, to be more connected into the fullness of who you are. These moments of orgasm, you're simply tuning into a fuller version of who you are. You're in the bliss moment, you see. So imagine that all the time. Imagine living in an orgasm. You see, that's an interesting perspective, you see, but it's a little like that, you see. We'll let that be the curious one for the mind, you see, because that is a little bit what is taught there, you see, in the Pleiades as well, you see, is in the frequency of the bliss, you see, how to really work with the circuitry of the bliss molecule, you see, to really activate the creative possibilities, you see, the creative potentiality, you see. So it's very powerful, very powerful.
Beautiful. So good. Such good stuff coming through. Do you feel complete with that? I can move on to the last question
We
that
have
we
another
have
question. It's very good. Yes, my dear. Let's get to go. Good.
There's one last question, and then we can maybe tune in to see if there's any last things coming through for us. This question, I feel like maybe we answered this in the first episode, but we can dive back into it again. The question is, will countries remain the same? Will we see ourselves in the same countries as we are here now on this earth? And so when I was tuning into this question a little earlier, and I'm just going to tune into it again with Gaia, but she's already starting to show me that the earth is going to look a lot different, and that there's not so much division that's taking place, because we are evolving into more unity, into more of a unified field. And so there's not really this separation or these borders, or even the kind of hierarchy how countries exist right now. What she is showing me right now, and has shown me many times in the past and continues to show me, is that there's a harmony that takes place There's a harmonization. There's a coming back into right relationship with her and with all things and with all people. And so there really is a unified field within the people, within the connection, within the souls, within, just as DiYeena was saying, there's a deeper connection with the plants and the land and the animals and the earth itself. And so the divisions, the countries themselves, that's not going to exist, because it's this one heartbeat. Like, yes, we're still living our own individual soul experience, but there is a unified field that is created. And so that's what's coming up around that. I don't know if there's anything, DiYeena, that you want to share about that.
We'll add a few more pieces here. So what we are also hearing here is the question around, well, then what about the languages, all the different languages you see on the earth? And what we believed is also part of this is a more unified experience, even in the communication, you see. So there's a deeper connection here within how we are even communicating with one another. And perhaps Gaia has more on this, but I'm going to say one more thing first, which is that even the ways that we envision, you see, all these separate places with separate climates and experiences and all the cultures and all these things. It's not that we don't have we don't lose necessarily the ways, you see, that are there, you see, necessarily. But what we gain here is even what you call it, the global warming, whatever, the climate change here, you see, this is also part of the natural evolution process, you see, the natural shifting, you see, is coming into less harshness, as we did say this in another episode, we believe, you see, talked about this part too, you see. But that plays into this question a little bit, that we have some of these northern climates, for example, further away from the quote-unquote equator, that are experiencing harsher winters, more snow, things like this. This is going to change, you see. Because again, when you are talking about having a peaceful place, we do not want to have a thing where we are working so hard just to survive, having to chop all the wood just to have a fire, just to be comfortable, you see. So it is simply a more resonant experience across her whole body, you see. So it is more, there's a shift that's happening even within the expression itself of how the plants, how the clouds, how the entire ecosystem moves through the breath of life, you see. So there's a different breathing technique that's going to create an actual different experience of how the plants grow, what plants grow, how the sun is, because it's going to be different sun, you see, all these different things that are creating a different experience for the earth herself and for the humans on it, you see. This is making sense to you?
Yes, this is making perfect sense. And what she continues to show me in that is the reminder that we're just going through a cycle, right? And so even in the, like, because what she's, the reason why she's wanting to bring that forward is like the question of the countries, right? We see everything right now is so like what is she wanting to say here? Like that we, like, within the human experience, there's a difficultness in a letting go or allowing change to happen and evolve, but the earth is consistently shifting and changing. And even like she's even showing me how, like, she's not giving me a timeline, but she's showing me a map of the earth that looks very different from what the map of our earth looks like right now. And so she's saying it's not an abnormal thing for the poles to shift and for things to become a little less harsh and for borders to even dissolve. That doesn't mean that there won't be more borders in the next cycle and that connection coming back in. She's just showing that we're going into a cycle of peace. We're going into a cycle of harmony. And so it's just a cycle. And the earth has done this many, many, many times before. And so this is just where we're at this perceived awareness at this focal point in this ascension or this awakening journey, however we want to put it. And so even with us saying that, like, the countries are maybe going to come into a more unified field is what I'm being shown, that we get to let go of, like, because I'm just hearing her saying, like, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna attach to some sort of identity within that. And it's okay to release that and let that go, because I even heard you say, DiYeena, it doesn't mean that the cultures are releasing or that's even shifting. It's just a more harmonious frequency and living situation that comes into play. And I'm just hearing that there may be many different dialects even, but there's going to be a way to understand each other is
Precisely.
what I'm hearing. And so it doesn't even mean that we're all speaking the same language, but there's a resonance that we can understand, that we
Yes.
can communicate. I'm even hearing like telepathy and that sort of thing
Yes.
coming online.
Yes. So what it's going to be is similar to what we have on the Pleiades, because we have people coming from all over. You see, they speak their native tongue. You see, just like how DiYeena is coming into this form. You see, speaking a native tongue. You see, but bringing in the information. You see, there's like a translation happening. You see, and so what is really happening is you have one person speaking in their native tongue, another person completely hearing the whole conversation. You see, and another person speaking back in their native tongue, also completely hearing the conversation, you see. So there is a whole circuitry of telepathy that is taking place, but the native tongues are still in their honor of their tradition, of their history, you see. So that is a little bit of how all of this happens, you see. So there is still a resonance of coming into unification, because we are now all of a sudden not so separate anymore. There's not a divide, you see, of oh, I cannot understand them, so now I can judge them, you see. Those frequencies are not there, you see. So there is simply understanding, and that this is also what allows a little bit more of the evolution to take place now, because now we have more angularity of perspective, you see. Isn't this interesting?
Yeah, it's so interesting because she's even showing me this like split with technology. And so when you were just sharing that, DiYeena, she's sharing me that there's a unified field coming in many different aspects of it. And she's showing me it in the sense that we can even look how technology, like she's showing me like this little earbud that you can put in. You go to a different country and someone is speaking their native language to you, but the little earpiece is like translating it. And so she's saying that if technology can be created in that sense, of course, we have the vast intelligence and the power within us to just do that translation. Like that technology that's coming from outside of self is existing already.
Within.
And that we have exactly within, and we have the ability to tap into that. And so we're going to have many more gifts and abilities like telepathy that come online that give us the ability to still be in the honoring of the culture in a new, more expanded way. Because it's what she's sharing with me is it's the DNA that's plugging in. So of course there's still going to be the the individualized fingerprint of the expression of the DNA, while also there's this weaving of the unified field. And so there are inner technologies that come online, like telepathy, that will assist us in that there is a design that all of it fits perfectly together.
Yes, exactly, my dear.
Beautiful. So that's all the questions that we have. And yeah, I can tune in and see if there's anything else that wants to come through. And then I'm curious, DiYeena, if there's anything coming through for you as well.
Yes, let's check in with the Gaia, see what else she has for
Okay.
the humans tonight.
Let me just tune in to see what she wants to share with everyone. So she's showing me that this year specifically, or I mean, I don't know if it's exactly this year, but she's showing me soon. So I'm assuming it's within this year. She's showing me that, and again, I don't want to like stir any fear. There's nothing to fear whatsoever, but there's going to be a heightened dismantling of a lot of the systems that are in place. And there has already been a lot of weather things, and there's going to be some bigger weather things, or not bigger, but more weather things that are ramping up, that she's wanting to share that with that. That's all part of the alchemization to assist us in coming into our greater awakening. And so the message that's coming through around that is very similar to what was coming through earlier around the fear piece of, can we really lean into trust and trust that our soul knows what it's doing, that the greater design of the divine design itself knows what it's doing, and that Gaia knows what it's doing, and that she is our great mother, and she is here to really support us and to ask her for her support. Tune into her, listen to her. She will share with you. She will speak to you. She's saying for more people to connect with her, that this isn't just, I know that I went through the process of connecting and opening her records, but what she's saying is anyone has the ability to go and put their hands on the earth or put their feet on the earth and connect with a tree or connect with nature or connect with her waters, like that she's here wanting to communicate with many, many people, for those that have an ear to hear her, for those that take the moment to be present enough to hear her, because things are going to be ramping up. And so it's going to seem like things are getting worse before it gets better. But that's actually not what's happening. There's an unearthing and a pulling the rot out of her soil. And so she's just showing me like the things or the like the belief systems that are embedded deep within us, like the places that seem like it's like rotting, it's like that needs to be pulled out. And there's an alchemization process in that. So whatever is unfolding, whatever's coming forward, that know that we're not on this doom timeline, that everything is unfolding with so much love, even if it doesn't seem like it in the moment, that there is a greater design. So to surrender in and trust and keep our hearts open at this time. She's saying the importance of keeping our hearts open to not only ourselves and to life, but also to one another, and to really carry that forward with you throughout this time. And so that's the final message that she wants to share.
This is so beautiful, you see. It's like after a forest fire, you see, after some time, you see what comes from the ashes, you see the most vibrant wildflowers, you see. So this is a little bit to trusting that process, you see, is from the ash comes this new layer, you see, this new experience, you see, so new life. See? So this is very good. You see, we are going to give just a little blessing here. Perhaps you have anything left, but we're just going to say from Pleiades to really give blessing to all the humans here for really the natural unfolding of things, and for the humans to be in the hearts. You see, this is the most you can do, is to go through this experience step by step, you see, in the heart, you see, no matter what's happening around you, you see, no matter the doom and gloom, whatever, you see, stay in your heart, you see, stay in your heart, stay connected to the frequency of trust, you see, not trust in whatever outside yourself, trusting within, you see, trusting yourself, you see, trusting the depth of your wisdom, as a one whole, you see, trusting the wisdom of the depth of the one, you see, that is choosing to play out in this way, that you are choosing to be in the awe of it all, that you are able to see it through the lens of the eye of God, you see, the eye of the divine, you see, can you see it all through the eye of the one, you see. So when you stay in the heart, you have this perspective, you see. So we bless you all to be in the heart, to be in the awe, and to see in the frequency of the one, you see, because this is really what is going to carry you through this transition in the most graceful way, you see, with full of love and blessings, you see. So blessings from the Pleiades. We love you all very dearly. We'll begin with you very soon. Blessings from DiYeena of the Pleiadian family.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, DiYeena. Thank you, Ava. Welcome back. Just wanting to send gratitude and blessings back to DiYeena and back to the Living Ma. And also just so much gratitude for Gaia for being here today with us. This experience, it's always such an honor to be here with all of you and to get the opportunity to channel Gaia and bring her sacred wisdom and ancient knowledge to all of you and have the support here from DiYeena and the Living Ma. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here with us. And Ava, is there anything that you would like to just finish off with before we go?
Thank you so much, everyone. I trust that this message was exactly what you needed to hear today. And if you enjoyed this, please share it. We would really love it if we could see more of your energy here and more on this. We really want to get this out to as many people as possible. So if you're finding this helpful, please share it. Please send this link to someone that you think would resonate with this video.
Beautiful. Yeah. Share, like, subscribe so we can continue to bring more of these episodes to all of you, because it is in so much of our joy to continue to show up in this way for all of you. And we just hope that you have a beautiful evening, and sending you all so much love. Thank you for being here.
See you on next episode.